G'day ladies and gentlemen, ScottyD here from the Australia's Tabletop Wargaming Network, and welcome in to the Tournament Organiser Report for Gonghammer 2024. Alrighty ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the ATWN once again for another one of our videos. This is one that I haven't done in a long time, doing a Tournament Organiser Report. I'm excited to share with you how I do that in the aftermath of Gonghammer 2024, which was a phenomenal tournament. We're going to have photos and such, as well as my thoughts about how the event went and such as well. I've got some cheeky notes on my phone that I'm going to be referencing instead of like a full script, so it's going to be a bit more off the cuff than normal. But before we jump into the content of the TO report, I want to thank everyone who has been supporting us over here on YouTube, whether you've been doing so financially as one of our members, or you've just been liking, commenting, sharing our videos, or subscribing to the channel as well, as we're now over 1100 subs, which is awesome to see. And thank you so much to everyone who has been joining us here as well. Really appreciate your patronage and just consuming the content that we're creating here. We hope that you're getting out what you are hoping from it as well. So let's jump into the Tournament Organiser Report. So what a TO report I've typically done will be, it'll be looking at the event from my perspective as the tournament organizer, sharing my thoughts, feelings, how things went, what can be improved upon, what can be changed, what did really well and what worked quite well for the tournament, as well as any other things that really come to mind from me as a TO. Now, we've had a couple of weeks of feedback from people who did attend, which has been great, and so we're going to be kind of incorporating some of that feedback that people have shared with me in today's videos. So we're actually just going to start off with the good. So what it was really good that we've received feedback on for Gonghammer about how things had worked. So first up is communication. A lot of the feedback we've received around the communication level that we output, and I was really happy with the amount that I was able to facilitate, was that everything was communicated as quick as possible. Things were adjusted when necessary, but you know, not everyone checks Facebook, and so that's something that we're going to be considering going forward, is when we do post an update on Facebook, it also gets sent out as an email to everybody as well. So then that way, yes, it's a little bit of extra work, a bit of double handling, but at the same time, what that facilitates is that people who don't regularly check Facebook are going to be able to have a look in their emails and get it there as well, which is going to be really great to see. Next up, the venue. I had nothing but praise about the venue. Everyone loved the fact that the drinks were downstairs rather than having it upstairs, which I know could be a bit of a convenience, but also reduced consumption, I believe, which meant nothing untoward, no silliness happening, which was great. Everyone enjoyed the meals, the venue itself was great, the staff. So I hope you guys enjoyed that venue. Now, there was a few bits of feedback, which we'll share a bit later on as well, regarding the venue that can't really be helped too much by us, but we'll do what we can. So I'm excited to talk a bit more about that when we get to the space. So the actual setup in the room, we did endeavor to have at least 1 meter between all of the tables on all sides, which we were able to achieve, which was great. And I hope you guys who did attend were able to feel as though you can move around the table and not bump into other people too easily and such as well. It was quite easy to move through all of the tables and such when needed to as a TO as well. So really, you know, happy with how that panned out. Timings. Everyone seemed to find that 2 hours 45 minutes was great. However, I'll speak a bit more to this when we get to things that we're looking to improve in the future, as there may be some shifts in this, just with, you know, my initial thoughts. If you watched the tournament preview, the idea was you rocked up to the table, you didn't have to set up terrain, 15 minutes to go through lists and such at the start of the game, set up objectives, all that fun stuff, and then hour 15 per player to get your game in, which was the goal. Did that work out in practice? Not really. I'm going to talk a bit about that a bit later on. In terms of access to myself as a TO, I was wildly walking around throughout day one, making sure everyone was having a good time, particularly during the early rounds when I wasn't doing paint judging. Even though I was also doing paint judging at the time, you know, I made sure everyone was doing okay as best I could. Day two, I was a bit more limited. I was focused on hitting all the people that I still needed to get paint judging done for, as well as also answering rules questions and such. So I had a couple of instances where we had 1 or 2 questions kind of pile up, which which wasn't great on day 2, but day 1 it wasn't too much of an issue. We had Sarah and Andrew helping out on the day 1, which was really appreciated as some volunteer help, which was great. I also think in terms of the level of prize support we gave out at the tournament as well was really solid. I was happy to be able to give out over $3,000 worth of prizes to you guys, and I'm keen to try and keep that standard going forward, as well as I think giving out a significant amount of prizes to over a third of the field in attendance after drops and such was super important. If it was going to be at the full 80, it would have been about a quarter of the field, which is still a great achievement in my opinion, but there's a few pieces of feedback we received around that as well. I think as a whole, a lot of things went really well. Like the missions, I believed worked quite well. We had a couple of pieces of feedback where people weren't super happy about the mission combination, some were. So as with a lot of things that I've received mixed feedback about, I'm not going to be able to please everybody. And that is something that with these improvements, I'm going to, very heavily mention now, is that I can't please everyone. I'm doing the best that I can to please the majority of people attending, and so it means that if something happens that you don't like, typically it is because the majority are used to it, rather than the inverse of that being the minority who aren't used to that. So things like that we'll get into a little bit. I think overall there is definitely room for improvement for the event as a whole. I think we would definitely fit 80 players in there. It'd be a little bit of a squish, but we'd get it done, and I'm confident to do so. I think it was also great to have good games there, have a stall there. I've got to give some feedback to Nick and Liam who were there, and just a few points that I received from other folks as well, which is great. So going to be able to communicate that to them going forward if they do have stalls at our GTs in the future as well. And I'm sure that you guys appreciate the fact that you could get fresh dice, glue, tape measures, all that kind of stuff if you needed it at the stall that was there, rather than having to be like, oh, I've got to duck out to the store that's like a 5-minute drive away to actually get stuff. No, they were actually there. You could pick it up on day 1, which is really solid. Now, if you're a tournament organizer like myself, you'll know how much time and effort goes in to getting everything organized for an event, whether that is getting your MDF boards for tabletops if you need it, getting trestle table hire, van hire to transport stuff, organizing terrain, prizes, a whole host of things, then you'll understand the amount of work that goes into an event. Now, the sponsor of today's TO report for Gonghammer 2024 is Tip Top Terrain, who also sponsored Gonghammer 2024 with a whole host of prize support for the tournament as well. Now, if you're familiar with Tip Top Terrain, they produce affordable quality MDF terrain to suit both the WTC and Games Workshop Prior Nexus terrain layouts that you are able to utilize for your own gaming at home. If you want more aesthetically pleasing terrain, they've got you covered. Or if you are looking for more tournament staple style of terrain as a TO that you're looking to get maybe a little bit cheaper, they've got you covered with their choice between the more simpler designs as well as the more aesthetically pleasing designs in both terrain layout options. They also come with neoprene basing mats for each terrain feature in either the WTC size of 6x12s or the Games Workshop size of having 6x4s, 10x5s and 12x6s as well. In addition to that, they also sell a couple of different neoprene gaming mat designs that have got the Prior Nexus tournament layouts already printed on there to save you some time in your games, or save your players some time during their games at tournaments as well. And for Gonghammer 2024, Dan did end up doing some laser cut deployment markers with Gonghammer 2024 on them. So if you're looking for some customized merch to give all of your players at your tournaments, feel free to hit him up and work with him on getting something unique and awesome for your tournaments as well. He does them in both MDF as well as acrylic, depending on what your preference is for the event. But if you are wanting to check out what Tip Top Terrain do have on offer, feel free to check out their links down below. They've got the Down Under 40K store as well as their Etsy store, where you can check out the products they have available, from their terrain to widgets and tracking markers as well, that you could probably get some custom ones designed if you would like as well with Dan. Maybe some team pairing cards is another one I've seen him do, or get some tournament style terrain or something custom designed to give to all your players attending your events as well. And a massive shout out to Tip Top Terrain for sponsoring the ATWN going forward as well. Getting to some of the improvements or things that we received feedback on that would people would like to see. So first up with the venue, I know some people would enjoy an earlier start. Unfortunately, when we did first, when I did inquire first up and look to book the venue, the absolute earliest they open is 9:30. That is their standard opening time. They will not open any earlier, unfortunately, so I can't really facilitate that, I'm afraid. So that's the one aspect of the venue I can't really change. It's not within my control or realm of control. The other is the lighting on one of the sides of the room. It was quite dark, particularly in that corner, that far right-hand corner up the back there. We stopped using that table, thankfully, but at the same time, we're going to look into a solution, maybe hire some floodlights or something we can put in to illuminate that side of the room a bit better next time. Instead of pointing them at people, we're probably going to put the lights and point them up into the ceiling, just kind of bounce the light off and try and get some extra light going for players. So hopefully we can facilitate that for you guys. The other thing as well is the lunch timing. Now, there was a bit of feedback around the Saturday. The venue was a bit busier. The kitchens were a bit more rushed to get food out. And so some players felt rushed getting food, others didn't. So we're going to look at the lunch round time. We may increase it to an hour on day one, maybe not. There's a couple of things in the back of my mind that I'm still considering for the next event, and that is one of them that would be a factor into round times, timing for lunch, all that kind of stuff as well. Ticket sales. Now, there was a lot of issues with ticket sales, at least from my end, and I know a few people had ticket sales problems on your guys' ends as well, probably from interaction with me and such, and I do apologize about that, because it's very stressful for me making sure that things go well. I'm communicating that tickets are sold out, all that kind of stuff, and just a lot of unexpected issues by using PayPal, so we're not going to use that next time. I'm looking at a few different options. We might do it through BCP, but that'll increase the ticket price, for example, if we do so, because BCP take cut. We do have another method we could do so through the ATWN that would probably take a smaller cut, but I need to test that first as well. So that is just something to bear in mind as we figure it out, but we will have it figured out in time for when we open ticket sales for our next big GT down here in the Gong. Then we come to FAQs and rulings. I didn't hear any negative feedback about using the Warhammer World Championships FAQ or WCW FAQ. I think everyone was pretty happy with using that because we had a proper copy. We were able to actually have that linked in a Google Drive and put into a place where people could publicly find it. We did receive some feedback regarding putting links on BCP as well, which is something we'll definitely do in future events as well. However, there was some feedback on rulings that were made, particularly around the 2-inch charging into ruin engagement range ruling that I had made. And what I found was that the majority of people were happy with it. Yes, there were some weird interactions and such, but I was there on hand to clarify that. Also, I found that it tended to be a regional thing in New South Wales. A lot of players are used to playing with WTC. Some locales within New South Wales aren't and don't play WTC at all, or may not on a regular basis, and so therefore this rule was very abnormal to them. They saw it as a massive advantage for melee armies and such as well. With this kind of thing, I'm not going to please everybody. At the end of the day, I'm going to make the call that is the best in my mind, that is going to be the healthiest for the tournament, and that is going to be the best for the majority of players, and striking a balance that is going to be appropriate, which is why I came up with the custom one instead of just doing, we're just going to run the WTC one. I wrote it myself. I came up with it through talking with some pivotal people who know the rules really well, and talked through it a bit, and we came to that as the solution. Yes, does it need some massaging? Yes, but at the same time, depending on what we do in the future, we may need it, we may not. That's up for discussion for future events as well. So I am listening to you guys' feedback. If you didn't enjoy that rule, at the same time, it might be there in the future. It's to be decided for that one, unfortunately. In terms of other rulings, I'm pretty happy with, how I did TO after all. The majority of the calls I'm pretty confident I got correct. There are a few that post-event feedback got, maybe didn't clarify fully or didn't get correct, and that's fine. I'm not going to be a perfect TO, and I don't think people expect any TOs to be perfect, but I have no problem being told that I maybe made a ruling wrong. because I want to get better at this. I want to make sure that the events are a lot better for you guys who are attending. As I said, the lunch break, we're considering increasing that to an hour instead of running that at 45 minutes. It will impact the length of the day and such as well, but it just means that you're not as rushed to get food. You can have that time to do players' choice votes and such during the lunch break as well. I know there was a bit of confusion around players' choice votes and best sportsman, so I'm going to clean that up for next time for you guys as well. The hard dice down and the end of game interaction and how that kind of worked, received a little bit of feedback because some people were following it, some people weren't. The idea with that call for that 15-minute mark rule was that if you are already halfway through a battle round, you don't start a fresh battle round kind of thing. Like, you don't get to like 5 minutes before the round's about to end and you go, let's try and get another battle round in really quick, and you don't, and then you get your scores in late, and it just kind of has a knock-on effect. That was kind of the intent. It wasn't to say, okay, we have just literally finished a battle round, as that time is ticked over, we're not able to start a new battle round. And I think that intent didn't really come across from me. It was more of a thing of like, if you are not confident in completing the current battle round you're in and fully complete another battle round during that time window, then finish the battle round you're in rather than trying to push forward. But I think the majority of feedback I got around the hard dice down and being super clear about, look, there's no talking out your games, whatever the score is. If you're halfway through a battle round, you revert it to what the game state was at the end of the previous battle round, was really solid. I got some decent feedback on that and players did enjoy that as well. The prize presentation length did go too long, and I will take full responsibility for that. We could have done the raffles and determined who was doing that prior, or we could have just done more prizes and named prizes that will be going out and increase the amount that we're handing out to players instead. That is something else. You know, some people didn't enjoy the worst in factions prizes. Now, that was primarily done because we were having down under 40k give the best in super faction prizes as well. So I didn't want to double up on players getting too many prizes. That was why we made that change. But going forward, you know, unfortunately down under 40k is running a circuit going forward, which means that we'll be able to revert those back to being best in faction prizes, of course with the ruling that you cannot double up on prizes and such for that one as well. But again, I will consider it. It will depend on how much those prizes are worth and such as to whether they can be doubled up or not. It's just a consideration factor from my perspective that I'll consider going into the next event. Then the next one is my passive judging versus my active judging. Now, for those who mightn't be aware, I did take an active judging stance during round 5 for the top tables, and after speaking with those participants, they felt as though it could have been done better. And you know, this was the first time that I had ever done active judging for top tables. I think there is definitely a place for it. However, I need to get better at it. And that's fine. I'm happy to wear that I wasn't the greatest at doing active judging. I had limited guidance from reference documents and other TOs that I'd seen and other judges that I'd seen doing it. But, you know, I'm still getting back into the gear of running events and such. So I appreciate the grace of the players being like, hey, look, you probably didn't do this the best. We understand your intentions behind it and such as well. We just want to find a happy medium, and I'm happy to try and find that for future events going forward to make sure that the top tables have got judge presence as much as possible to answer rules questions without having it being so overbearing as it could come across as that as well. So there was that. I think there was a few other bits and pieces, you know, terrain, for example. A lot of players didn't necessarily enjoy how open the layouts were depending on the actual deployment map with the terrain layout. So we're actually going to completely build that back up from the ground up. Some players didn't enjoy the mission combos, some did. You win some, you lose some in terms of that kind of stuff. So that's something else that I'm going to be looking at going into next year. So I'm not 100% certain what the direction is when it comes to what we're going to do terrain-wise in the future. And with missions, I'm still kind of figuring things out a little bit in the back end, talking with some folks and just trying to get things solidified going forward. Now, there are a few other things of note that I will have to mention to you guys. So going into Gonghammer, the ATWN was partnered with South Coast Siege to put on the tournament. Unfortunately, we have decided to part ways. So the ATWN is no longer going to be partnered in any way, shape or form with South Coast Siege. They're looking to take their events in a different direction. And so I wish Adam and Blake all the best with running their events in the area as well. However, I'm going to announce that we are running the inaugural Australis Tabletop Wargaming Network Open the last weekend of May next year. It's probably going to be the exact same venue. Keep an eye out on our Facebook page. Early next year, in the new year, there will be an event that'll go up. There'll be a sign up sheet for when tickets go on sale, and we'll let you guys know a lot more details in the new year about that tournament. It's going to be very similar to the way that we've run this one in terms of prizes and all the processes for list submission and such, except with list submission, I've heard your feedback. It'll just be through BCP. It won't be emails, but stuff like, you know, alternative miniature requests, getting them in before this submission deadline, things like that as well is super important. So a lot of those processes there worked quite well, but I want to improve in a lot of areas that you guys have provided us with feedback on. And so I want to make these events as enjoyable as possible for you guys to be attending, to enjoy, to have fun at, and to hang out with your mates in a nice environment. You know, it's air conditioned, there's food on site, there's drinks on site, all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's super important to me, to putting on the most professional and quality level of event that I can for you guys. And so definitely going to be listening to all of your feedback. If you haven't already, we do have the link up in the event on the Facebook page if you want to provide feedback as well, or you can send it in via email. Still open to hearing feedback from the players as well. But that is basically the wrap up for the TO report. Overall, the tournament was definitely a success in my personal opinion. I'm looking forward to running more events in the Gong in the future, so that you guys are able to come down, whether it's from Sydney, Maitland, even Wagga, Canberra guys. I know there was an event clash, so maybe you guys can come up for the ATWN Open. You know, it was great to see the Queensland guys come down, and even Igor coming across from New Zealand as well to come and participate in the tournament, which is great. And also having Dean from Team Australia in attendance as well, hanging out, being able to chat with players and such, and hosting the dinner on the Saturday night. Hope everyone who was able to hang out for that did enjoy themselves there. But yeah, that is kind of just how we're going to wrap up the tournament report for Gonghammer 2024. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, well, thank you so much for watching this Tournament Organiser Report for Gonghammer 2024, and I hope you guys who did manage to tune in enjoyed the live coverage with Adam and Pete, and they did such a great job being their first time doing that kind of thing, and really appreciate the effort that they made during the days to make sure it was the best quality coverage that they could, which was absolutely awesome. And without them volunteering to do it, we wouldn't have been able to have the stream, unfortunately. So really appreciate those guys and their help. Also, I appreciate everyone who attended the tournament as well, and those who, you know, sponsored. We had a ton of sponsors from Jacosi, Tip Top Terrain sponsored as well. We also had Quadrufi, Chicken Coop 40K, and Good Games also sponsoring the tournament, with Down Under 40K also sponsoring the Best Sportsman prize for the event as well, which is great. Thanks to all the sponsors for helping out, and also thanks to everyone here on YouTube. If you did enjoy this video, feel free to hit with a like. If you have any feedback on this type of content, feel free to let me know down in the comments section below as well. Or if you haven't already, feel free to hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell to be notified to when we are releasing more content here on the network. We've got a whole heap of stuff planned for the new year, which I'm really excited to be bringing to you guys, and really looking forward to talking a bit more about that as we strike into 2025. Also, if you do want to hang out with us on a weekly basis, make sure to head over to Twitch, follow us over at the Australis TWN Twitch channel, where we do live hobbying sessions every week. We also do the tournament previews on there and such as well when we go into the tournament season. And it is going to be a bumper tournament year next year, ladies and gentlemen. So really excited to be bringing you as much tournament coverage as we can. Also want to give a massive shout out to all of our financial supporters, whether you are a subscriber on Twitch, whether you support us via Ko-Fi, or you are a YouTube member as well. Really appreciate your financial patronage. Your guys' support allow us to cover our business costs a lot easier, as well as facilitate upgrades to our tournament coverage and general streaming setup. So we're able to provide the best possible coverage for you guys. And I hope you do enjoy the improvements we've made to actually recently being able to have our tournament coverage at 4K quality, which is awesome to have, particularly on the table. But ladies and gentlemen, that has been it for today's video. I've been ScottyD, and I hope to catch you in the next one.